Hello everyone, welcome back to your channel The Guardian Sir. So we were currently in the stage 3B, right? Implementing the LangGraph basic state, right? So today we will be writing the implementation code for this. Okay? So I have already kept that llm.py, right? In which we are creating and returning a client to connect to the foundation model, right? And I have created a file chatbot langgraph.py in which I will be writing the code to implement that basic state, right? So first, let's from LLM module we want to import get LLM, right? Why? To because we want a client to connect to the foundation model. Then from LangGraph for graph, I want to import the following thing. First, I want to import StateGraph. Then I want to import MessagesState state. Then I want to import start. Okay. Now what are these? We will understand one by one. Okay. Don't do it. And straight away, I want to call this function and client, get in client, get in client to connect the bedrock foundational models, right? Models. Now I want to give you an overview of some of the basic terminologies, right? State graph, what is message state, start everything. Okay. So let's come to our this file. See, this lang graph. Okay, you can relate it just like a graph, just like a graph. See, it has different things like messages state, right? State graph, then start, then there will come no, a concept of node. Okay, so let's start. See, in this lang graph, there is basically a state called a message state. What is this? This is the predefined structure, predefined structure for schema, right? To store the message. Now, this message can be human message and AI message. How is the structure? Structure is something like that. It's a Python dictionary. Okay, something like that. And there is a messages in which the messages will be stored. And how these messages will be stored? In tuple. You remember tuple, right? So there will be what category message it is. Let's say user category message and his message like hi, I am Ankit. Getting like that. So this will be the message state. So what is message state? Is a predefined structure or schema to store the messages, right? Now there can be multiple messages, right? There another message can be of AI, right? AI, right? So like something tuple, right? How nice to meet you, nice to meet you, right? Getting so this is there. Now what is the state graph? So this state graph is basically to clarify kind of thing like what kind of state we gonna to manage in our application, right? Right? There can be states for many things, right? So what we are here managing states for is messages, right? So we are creating messages, right? We are maintaining or managing state state for messages, right? Like what is the last message, right? What is the previous message, what is the new message for that state, right? So it's basically to clarify what kind of state we are trying to manage in our application, right? What kind of state, right? State we gonna to manage in our application, right? Like yeah, like currently on what state I am in recording video state, right? Now after some time I can listen music, that can be my listening music state, right? So what kind of state we are going to manage in our application, for that is the state graph, right? Here we basically write the different steps that we going to follow in our application, right? And the order, right? So suppose your query comes, right? Your query comes. So certain steps are followed, right? Certain steps are followed, and accordingly the response is generated, right? So this is the one that will be building the structure, right? Like in what order your steps will be executed, in what order the steps will be executed to give the desired result. Okay, result. This is what called the state graph. Then there is start. See, this is the pre-built starting point. Okay, so this is the starting point of execution. This is the starting point of execution of our graph. You can call it as the predefined step. Call it as the predefined step. Like in the graph, this step is already defined, right? Whatever next steps we will add after that, right? Suppose after this starting the execution, you want to perform content functionality, so you'll add next to it, right? Now this node, what is node? So this node is the single unit of work. See, as I told you, so suppose you write a query, right? You write a query, the chatbot. Let's say, which is the best weather to, let's say, go to Goa, Goa. Okay. So for this, there can be a multiple step like going and finding uh, uh, like uh, API, right? API can be called to find the weather for different places first, right? Weather for different places like that. Then in that going for Goa, and in that going for Goa, in that finding the best time getting. So these are step, right? Being best time. So we can basically break the steps, right? So what is this node? It's a single unit of work, right? Just single unit of work. Okay. Like what unit of work we're going to generate is the like simple chatbot, right? It will take some request and it will generate some response, right? So let's say I will create a chatbot node. I will create a chatbot node. What is work? What is single unit of work? It will take the request, and return the generated response. So that is what is work, right? And the generated response. Okay. So what this node basically takes, it uh takes current state as the input, takes the current state as the input, and returns what? Updated state as the output. Okay, updated state as the output. So these are the different terminologies, right? We will implement this all in our code level now. Okay, this all this. Okay, so I just wanted to clear those jargon, right? Message state. What is the message state? It is a predefined structure or schema to store the messages, right? This is how we are storing in the LangGraph in the form of dictionary, right? This is the dictionary structure, right? Messages, right? Messages, and in that list we are storing the tuples. These are the tuples, right? We have discussed already about this tuple, right? And what is dictionary? Dictionary is another data structure. The Python data structure. Python data structure to store the data in key value pairs. Okay, yes. So this is about it, right? So this is the one, right? This is message state. Then we talk about state graph, where we are kind of deciding like what kind of state we are going to manage in our application, what are different steps are going to be in our application, in what order they need to be executed. Start is the predefined step. Okay, all the next step we will be adding after the start. Node is a single unit of work, right? Like in our application we're going to create a chatbot node. that work will be just taking the request and return the generated response, right? Like I gave you example, suppose you want to find the best weather to Goa, so they can be broken into multiple steps, right? Some API can be there going to that find the weather of all the places, then second can be like API that will go for searching for specifically for Goa, then in that best time getting multiple steps, right? So we can build different nodes. I just give you example to like for doing something we need multiple steps, and each single unit of work can be broken down as a node. Let's come here, also define that what node. Okay, so this is the function. So what it will take messages state as the parameter. Okay, so let me assign it to a state variable. So like whatever will be passed in message state, I'll be storing in the state, right? So let's first print like let's say current current state. Every time we will, after getting the query, we'll see like what is the current state. State messages. Okay. So after this, you see how simple it is through this LangGraph. We will just do LLM dot invoke directly messages. This state of messages. Okay. Just we are sending this as the request. Now it will return a response, right? This will return a response. Now we will return this updated state. So see how we will return. Return, right? Return messages. That what will return is response, right? So this is the, so here what we are taking? We are taking the current state as the input. What is the current state? The latest message, right? Then we are returning the generated response as the updated state, right? This is what is happening here, right? And what is this chatbot? Chatbot is a node, right? Chatbot is a node. What is a node, right? And what is a node? I've already told, right? A single unit of work. And what is performing? Taking an input and returning the generated response. This all we have discussed, right? So now let's create a graph variable that will tell, right, what type of state we want to manage. So we want to manage messages states. Now after that, graph builder dot, let's add the node, right? Let's add a new node as chatbot. Okay, and what is that node? Chatbot functionality. Chatbot functionality. Then graph builder dot add edge. So let's after start, the moment program start, after the starting point, I want chatbot function to be executed. So I want chatbot function executed, right? Now let me see whether we pass here the string or we pass it the function here. We pass here the added thing. We pass here the string, right? Here we will pass as the string, right? So this is the one. And see, this all is the structure all created, right? Now two, we want to run it, right? Compile, integrated, compile. So graph builder dot compile, right? Dot compile. Graph builder dot compile, dot compile, and it will return a graph. This, okay, getting what we did. This basically structure we all created, right? Okay, we are creating a state. We are managing state in our application. What state we are managing? Message state. We are managing state for messages our application, right? Then what we are doing? We are we are registering the chatbot as a node graph, right? Then what we are doing after start, want the chatbot node to use, and this is the table for our graph. Okay, now while true, right? So let's take the input equal to equal to put these, right? Now if your input dot over equal to exit, right? Let's suppose you want to exit, so great, right? Else, see how we will do. To graph dot go, right? So what will return invoke? We will send a dictionary. The dictionary, don't worry, will explain again, explain the code messages, right? And in that in the list of tuple is user comma user input, right? So this will generate the response. This will generate the response updated state. So this what will return when you invoke it. When you invoke it, what will happen? It will start the execution, and there it will come to the chatbot node. It will take the current state of the messages, get some response and update state. So here we receive in the response updated state. Okay. So print I reply. What it replied, sir? So in the replied response, right? Replied response, response key, response dictionary, messages, right? And the that -1 dot change. Let me see, I write the real the right structure. No, okay, sorry. Just -1 dot dot. Let's write it as a result because upper already written response. Right? Let's write it. I will explain you this. Don't worry. This structure I will explain. Okay, like how we are doing this. Result of messages. Oh, right. Result of messages. To explain. Let's try running it and see if we have done some mistake. We will correct it and then we will again go through this code and understand. So last question. What is team? Say how are you? Oh, the current state, the new message, right? Current state you are displaying here, right? I will explain you the complete flow. Don't worry. AI replied, "Thank you for asking," and the response is coming, right? Next question is asked, how uh, current state? See the new message, right? How are you, right? So let me explain you the complete. I will explain it, break down everything. So see here. So first, what we are doing here, we are imported these three things from the LangGraph, right? State graph, message, and start. I discussed about all these things, right? Like state graph was for kind of like what state we are going to maintain our application. State graph is for what state gonna to manage our application, right? Now, message state, message state, messages state was for predefined structure or the schema in which the messages will be stored, right? And what is the structure? I already told you, right? It will be a dictionary. The dictionary will be a dictionary. The dictionary, the key will be messages, and we will be storing the value as list, and in the list, different tuple messages there, different tuple messages, right? I already told you that, right? Now, this start, right? Start is the predefined step, right? Predefined step or starting point of already we have discussed, right? Now this I already told you like this LLM is to create a client to connect to the foundation model. So now what we are doing here is we are creating a node, right? And every node represents a single unit of work, right? So this node single unit of work is taking the prompt, taking the current the input, and return the generated response. Right? This is the single unit of work, right? So how we are giving it the input is we are passing the message state. So what we are doing here, we are passing using the message state. Now you know who is passing the message state. How if you see here, we have nowhere called the chatbot function. Nowhere we have called the chatbot function, right? So what happens? This message state, this message state, state represents is passed by the LangGraph. LangGraph. Okay. When when we do graph dot invoke. Okay, so when we do graph dot invoke, current state is passed to the node. Okay, current state is passed to the node. And why to this node is passed? Because this node we have registered to the graph. See here, we have registered this chatbot node as the graph, right? That's why. And we have also told that this node should be executed just after the start of the program, right? Just after the start of the node, this function should be executed. So what this LangGraph is doing? When we do graph.invoke, current state is passed to the node, and who is doing that is done by LangGraph. Okay, and after that we send the request to the LLM, right? We get the response and we return the return the updated state. Okay, you see we are just returning it, and this is automatically binded by the LangGraph, the message state, right? The state gets updated. Getting? So just we are returning here, and the LangGraph what does? The later response that comes from the AI, it's embedded in the message state, and the message state gets embedded, right? Get updated, right? We return the response, and the response, and this is automatically binded by the LangGraph message, right? And this is the structure, right? This is the structure in which the message state is stored, right? It's storing in the key value format, right? Messages is the key, and corresponding to that is the list of messages, right? So now what we are doing here, we are creating the graph builder, right? Here we are deciding like what kind of state we are going to manage in our application, right? So for what state we are managing our application is the messages. We are maintaining the messages state in our application, right? Getting? Now we are registering this chatbot. We are just registering this chatbot as a node in our graph, right? And when this we want this node to be executed, just after the start. After start, we want the chatbot node to execute. Now this all is the structure, right? Now this all is the structure. What if you want to execute it, right? For it to be executable, we are compiling it, right? We are compiling it, right? We are compiling it, making it compile. Got it? So what is the first flow? Here you are taking the user input. Here the question comes. Then we are invoking graph.invoke. And when we do invoke, what does LangGraph does? LangGraph embeds LangGraph embeds this in the message state. Okay, and this is called this chatbot function is called. Let me write down the complete flow. Okay, so this is the complete flow. You understood the structure, right? How we are. Let's first understand like what is the flow to create graph. Create graph, right? So first create a graph builder, right? Builder like state graph that will tell what kind of application we want to manage, right? We want to uh, manage, right? What state, what kind of state in our application we want to manage, right? Now we created node, right? And added as the edge next to the start, right? So this is the flow, right? The start. So when new questions come, new questions come, right? So graph dot invoke is executed. You see, right? In graph dot invoke, we are passing the current state. We are passing the current state. That is the and that how as we have already discussed, right? In this message state, we store the data in the form of dictionary, right? Where key is the messages, right? Key is the messages, and the value is the list of tuples, right? List of tuples. This is the structure, right? Copy down for you. So graph.invoke is executed. This is the structure. Then what happens as we have registered the node? So chatbot node is called. Node is executed. The current state of messages is passed. Response generated, returned, and LangGraph automatically updates the messages state, right? So you saw, right, like how simple is the flow, right? How simple is the flow in this? Just see how small this function becomes. See how small this function. Just we are taking the state, working it, returning it, right? So here we have not implemented that memory now. Like if you ask here what is my previous question, it won't be able to answer, right? This question it won't be able to answer because we have not induced memory now, right? Like what was the previous question? It's not aware. Okay, so we will add check pointers in the next, right? Like if you see here, we have just added the node, added the age, but not added the check pointer, not added the check pointer, right? So we'll implement that in the upcoming videos. Okay, so in this video, like I wanted to show you like how we do state management. See, output came. I'm sorry, but I can't previous interaction. Why? Because we are not storing our previous message. Did you see anywhere like I have saved that what is the previous message? No, just I am taking the new state. What is the current message? Just I am taking it and returning the output. Taking the new question and returning the output, right? Nowhere I have maintaining the history. Nowhere. Just added the node, added the age, and compiled. Nowhere implementing checkpointers, right? So that we will implement in the coming videos. So that's all for today. Keep exploring, keep coding. Ready and start.